True Words of Christ, your girl Creed here, and happy Blessed Tuesday! So today is a brand new day, and I hope and pray that you are doing awesome, and thank you so much for tuning into another Spotify podcast on this wonderful episode. And for those that are watching, thank you so much for tuning into another video on the Stand Firm Worship. And for those that are not subscribed, you know exactly what to do. Just hit the subscribe button right here and ring the notification bell to get notified any videos I upload every Tuesday and every Thursday for you wonderful True Words of Christ. And for those that are listening in onto the Spotify podcast, please do support this wonderful podcast, all for the glory and grace of God, which I'll put the links down below so you guys will follow along and be able to journey with me, all for the glory and grace of God as True Words of Christ. So really, you join this family of True Words of Christ, you will not be mistaken, because we're all in this together. We should all be unified, all for the glory and grace of God, and we should all be striving together to really know that we're not alone in our spiritual battles and trials and tribulations that we face, and all the trials and tribulations that God permits in our lives is not for us to just suffer and just like because God hates us. No, like God permits all times of suffering so that we will grow into greatness. We will grow to be victorious. We will grow into conquering every single fear, insecurities, anxieties, worries, anything that may be causing us to just doubt God, right? So with that said, thank you so much, and I hope and pray that you honestly keep on striving and trying. Yes, we all have spiritual battles right now, one or another, but really it's having the right mindset to the right approach to face it, right? Like, yes, God drops a bomb on you of a new cross in your life, but you don't just like take it on your life and just start moping around and be like, oh, that's it, I'm done. Like, no, you embrace it like a true warrior for Christ. You fight the good fight. You don't just become a wimp of Christ. You become even a stronger true warrior for Christ in that aspect, right? It's how you put your mindset to things. It's how you really put your mind and that power of your mind to accomplish greatness, right? That's what True Words of Christ do. We really enable ourselves to keep on striving and to keep on achieving greatness and keep on raising the bar higher and higher and higher every single day. Like, yes, we're gonna have our ups and downs for sure, but that's part of the adventure. That's part of the journey. That's part of us being better every day, right? If not for those battles and if not for those spiritual battles that God permits in our lives, then where would we be now? We would just be still down here, like God knows, right? So embrace it. Take up your cross like a true warrior for Christ. Don't start dragging the cross like, oh my gosh, like here we go again. Like, no, hello. Don't become a joke, okay? Really, I'm dead serious. Like, you really have to enable yourself to pick up your crosses like a true warrior for Christ, and knowing that this is what God's permitting and this is what God wants you to accomplish and to conquer, right? So don't let the enemy win. Don't let the enemy discourage you and make you doubt, making you feel like, yeah, where's God in this now, huh? Yeah, so forget about him. He doesn't like you. He doesn't love you. Like, those, oh, maybe not in that flat out context, but something along those lines that will actually discourage you from actually picking up your crosses and to actually prevent you from being better, right? And for you to stop striving and stop trying, right? So where you are at now, you have a full potential. You really do. Whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching this, you have a beautiful potential. You really do. So all you have to do is enable yourself to seek the graces from Christ and from God to really be out there, right? We have to reach out to the scattered, right? You can't just be so content with whoever you're gathered with, right? You have to reach out to the scattered for the sanctification of souls. So with that said, and as I love saying before all my podcast episodes and all my video, let's get started. So today, my true words for Christ, I want to talk to you guys about how to be close to God. What comes to your mind when it comes to thinking about how to become close to God? Or how to be? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Definitely not vending machine. Okay, no. It starts with P. Any guesses? Prayer. We need to have that simple life of prayer, right? Because really, especially during these unprecedented times, and especially during these cause of annoying times right now, we need to make time for prayer. So it's very important that you make a time, book a time, as I've always said in all my podcasts. That is the first thing that you have to think about when it comes to striving to become close to God, right? Because the closer you get to God, the more you will be purified, the more you'll be pruned, the more you'll be susceptible to new crosses, which is a good thing, because at least you know that by the time you are so close to God, you are so purified, right? And you're ready to go to heaven directly, right? And you don't want to go to the, to purgatory, which is like a whole nother topic. But I was told in the homily to always pray for purgatory on earth, so that your time in purgatory won't be that bad, or you'll be able to be up in heaven directly, express view, right? So, don't be content to like this earth and living a lavish life and living a comfortable life. Like, when you go through times of trial and tribulation, when you're super uncomfortable, like maybe emotionally, physically, maybe through ailments or whatnot, in your spiritual battles, you embrace that. Because think about it right away, that it is God calling you to become closer to Him. It is God calling you to unify with Him more. And it is God calling you to be more purified in His eyes, right? So either way, when objection arises, right? Or work arises, basically, do not make hasty types of reasoning. Yes, we're humans, right? And when we experience any times of not in our favor, or anything that we find out behind closed doors, right, we tend to lash out in making decisions that is not truly who we are, right? So before you make any big decisions, you offer it up to Our Lady, you offer it up to the Holy Spirit, you offer it up to Jesus, and you offer it up to God first and foremost. Because you need to be in the right mind to make decisions. You need to be in the right mind to face and take up all your crosses, right? You don't want to be lashing out in that exact moment when you find out news that it's just not in your favor, and you're like, you know what? I'm out. I quit. My ministry is done. Forget it. No, you don't want to be in that right mind, because that, my friend, will actually lead you to fall into the traps of the enemy, because the enemy will really take upon that opportunity for you to start straying away from Christ, one step at a time, backwards, instead of one step forward to Christ, right? So that is why we need to know that we need to stop and just really pray. That's why book of time is so important. We need to have that deeper relationship with Christ, so that we will be able to hear Christ and hear God in His sheer silence, right? It's not easy. Like, yes, when it comes to trial and tribulation, they come according to God's time. They come when you least expect it. They come when you're just like living on with your life so comfortably, right? So, right, you need to be alert, aware, and always constantly mindful about any crosses that God may be placing to your life unexpectedly, right? Anything that God places in your life unexpectedly, you embrace it with love for God, right? You don't make that as an excuse to become lukewarm in your faith. Remember that, right? Because it's very easy to use a cross as an excuse to be like, okay, if God really loves me, then how come He's giving me these crosses, right? Like, that in itself is a question that the enemy will really ponder on and feed upon for you to just start forgetting God and start doubting God, and for you to start just not doing what you're called to do as a true disciple of Christ, right? So you need to give to the Lord everything, all of your circumstances, all your spiritual battles, everything that you're currently struggling with, everything that you're currently fearful of, everything, right? So no matter what, if you get like a trial and tribulation in your life unexpectedly, just be like, okay, God, I know that you're permitting this in my life for a purpose and for a greater good. Please stay with me, and please help me to be fruitful throughout that time, right? And it's not easy, because definitely for sure, like, your first reaction will be like, why am I suffering through this? Why am I going through this? Why did you permit this in my life, where I prayed for this over and over, right? But really, it's all in God's time. God has the bigger picture. God has the bigger masterpiece plan, right? So we have to entrust ourselves to really know that God has the greater good purpose behind all the events that may occur in your life, all the circumstances that may be occurring in your life, which may not be in your favor at first, but when you look back in the future, you'll be like, oh wow, like, whoo. Like, trust me, I've had those like aha moments, but now I'm just embracing for what's in store in the future in terms of any new crosses or any trial and tribulations or any like bomb drops of any new crosses on top of that. So yeah, as a true warrior for Christ, that is very important, that we need to take upon ourselves to know that this is how God calls us for greatness. He calls you through different trials and tribulations in your life to become closer to Him, one step at a time, one trial and tribulation at a time, which may seem like so overwhelming at first, but when you really seek out the graces of God, when you really seek out the power and strength of our Blessed Mother Mary and whatnot, you'll be fine. You'll be completely okay. There's no harm in accepting that you're not perfect. There's no harm in accepting that you have your flaws, you have your fears, you have your insecurities, you have your anxieties, you have your loneliness, you have your problems, and you have your family problems and whatnot. But God's with you. God's never going to forsake you. God's never going to abandon you. That is one thing I am 100% certain about. It's how you really enable that fact to be engraved in your mind and in your heart, and always, always, always branching that out to every person that you encounter in your life, right? Like, people maybe wonder, how are you so bubbly in the midst of all this chaos and storm? Well, just be like, I'm trying to make the best out of everything. I'm trying to make the best of the blessing that God gave me to live another day. Like, it just has to be so simple. It doesn't need to be all fancy schmancy and just be like, well, I have to do this. Like, come on. We have to live and strive to live simple lives, right? Simple lives for Christ is the ultimate goal here, and the sanctification of souls, and having that zealous fire of Christ to constantly be lit in your heart, and for others around you to see that fire, that zealous fire of Christ lit within you so naturally, right? Because a true leader and a true warrior for Christ really has that ability to bring joy and happiness and love and mercy of Christ to those around that specific person, right? So we need to let us give to God all our free thoughts, right? All of our free thoughts with the resolution of never taking it back, right? So yes, we have our thoughts throughout the day, right? But if it's like a thought that's just like bothering you so much, then offer it to God, so that will be like one step closer for you to be closer to Him, right? Like, you want to try to have every single opportunity in your life to become closer to Him. Even if, I would say, in the most uncomfortable times is when really you take that opportunity and you draw yourself closer. You try. Yeah, you let it out through tears and anger and whatnot, but after all that, when you're at the right frame of mind, know for a fact that, you offer all those thoughts to God and be like, hey, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, but I know for a fact that you're permitting this to happen in my life for a good, solid reason, and for the greater good of those around me, and for myself as a true disciple, right? So, it's very essential to live constantly in the presence of God, right? As I've mentioned before, constantly living in the presence of God, which is very challenging, of course, especially during these very tough times and all the news is happening and whatnot, but we're still living the presence of God because you are still striving and you still have another day to live, right? The battle's not over. The spiritual battle will never be over until God calls you back home. Until that day, you'll constantly always keep on having crosses, spiritual battles, and more crosses to pick up, like no tomorrow. But as you become stronger as a true warrior for Christ, you embrace those in a more loving manner, right? It's really easy to say, I know. You're probably like, what the heck is this girl talking about? Well, yeah, of course. Like, it's hard at first, but the more you become closer to God, the more you'll actually embrace those crosses in a lighter manner. Because, why? Because you actually become closer to Blessed Mother Mary. So reach out to her all the time, because she's the one that enables you to carry your crosses in such a lighter weight without realizing it. Right? So that is why your heart especially needs to remain in the presence of God alone. Yes, your mind, of course, your thoughts, all in your mind needs to be in the presence of the Lord, and also your heart, right? Because you don't want to have a hardened heart. You don't want to be living a hypocrisy life, right? You don't want to be living one life in your exterior self and then another life in behind closed doors in your interior self. Like that, no, come on. You're better than that. True warriors don't do that. True warriors do not do that, okay? That is called living a life of fakeness and the life of self-destruction for the hands of the enemy to really pick upon. So you're better than that, really. You have the true potential. Each and every one of us has the true potential for greatness. It's just a matter of you actually accepting that and knowing that you have such greatness ahead of you, right? So don't settle for less. Don't settle for whatever is in front of you. Just know that God has something in store for you. God will work something wonderful for you, right? Just don't let your impatience get in the way, because impatience is such a huge factor in preventing you to become closer to God, because impatience causes rational decision making and like fast decision making that like you don't realize that you're making it until it's too late. So allow God to be in your presence in that moment, right? It's very easy to succumb to your fears and all the problems that you're experiencing, but you're not alone. You're not alone. So that's why we must act to better perceive in His love, right? Accepting and knowing His love is right there always, always, always for us, right? And allowing ourselves to be drawn to God's relationship even in the midst of every active existence. Every day, right? So always be glorious and thankful for another day to live, because that is your chance to do your duty, your Christian duty for the sanctification of souls out there, right? So that's why we need to constantly exercise the presence of God throughout the day, through your coworkers, your colleagues, your schoolmates, your family members especially. Always exercise it every way you can. It sounds easy, I know. You're probably like, wow, seriously? It sounds so easy, but I can't do it. Well, yeah, obviously, it's a challenge, but the more you try with the grace of God, with the power and name of Jesus Christ, you will be okay. You will be victorious. You will overcome any problems or family issues that you're currently struggling through, right? So honestly, to be close to God is a calling, and we're each are called to be close to God. It's just a matter of us actually accepting that in that pathway, in that journey closer to God, is the narrow pathway, right? You don't want to follow that huge pathway, the easy way, which is perishing in the world, basically, right? You want to follow the narrow pathway to Christ, the narrow, hard way, because the rewards are fully worth it, the heavenly rewards. Therefore, build constantly the heavenly treasures on this earth, which is the sanctification of souls. So every opportunity you can, try to bring them closer to Christ. In your trial and tribulation that God permits in your life, embrace that and take that as an opportunity for you to testify to others how God really works within you to embrace all the problems that God permits in your life, all the trials and tribulations in your life, all the struggles that God permits in your life. And use that as a testimony to bring one soul back, right? Because God permits struggling times for you so that you know how to reach more souls out there. Yeah? So it's just a matter of you giving your unconditional yes to Christ and being like, okay, I reinforce my unconditional yes, and I know that you will always be with me every step of the way. And I'll keep on trying and striving. Sorry, I was trying. Wow, Credo, let's get this going. Trying and striving every single day, right? As a true warrior for Christ. That is what true warriors for Christ do, one way or another. So give God everything. Give God your struggles. Give God your fears. Give God your insecurities. Give God everything that bothers you. And allow Him to make you fruitful. Don't succumb to just being like, oh, I'm going through this spiritual battle right now, therefore I'm just going to back away from my ministry right now because I know I'm not going to be fruitful. What part of that sounds like a true word for Christ? Okay, first and foremost. Secondly, that is doubting yourself in the hands of God. That is doubting God's plan and providence for you. That is doubting and discouraging yourself from becoming great, right? So yes, when a cross drops in your life unexpectedly, you take it and tell yourself, okay, yes, God, let's do this. Yes, God, I know that you have a greater purpose behind this, and I know that you'll make me fruitful at the end of the day with this new cross in my life. Have the right positive attitude towards any cross that you need to embrace in your life. Right? That's very important as a true warrior for Christ. And enabling yourself to know that all crosses in your life are there for you to be closer to God. Not for you to forget God even more. Not for you to be pissed at God and be like, why do you do this to me, God? Like, what? No. God's there, just holding out his hand, be like, my child, you need to go through this. I'm permitting for you to go through this so that you'll be purified in this specific area in your life, to be more purified and to be more pruned. And of course, God has his ways that exceed our human comprehension. So try not to understand God's ways right now, especially when it's so completely out of your control. Don't try to understand his ways, because God is literally God, and he is the Almighty Father, and he has his ways that will always be exceedingly more than our human understanding. Right? Always remember that. Always remind yourself that when something comes into your life so unexpectedly, know that God has the greater understanding above you. We're not scientists of God. God is God. End of story. He's awesome, and he knows what's best. Let him work within your life and let you be fruitful so that you'll be closer to him every day you try. So with that said, my true words for Christ: stand firm on your faith. Don't be afraid, and always embrace every cross in your life, no matter what trial and tribulation it is, no matter what hardship you'll be facing, no matter what struggles that it will arise to the surface. You embrace that like a true warrior of Christ. You don't embrace like a true wimp of Christ, okay? You're not called to be a chicken. No. Warriors of Christ are full of ambition, fire, the zealous fire of Christ, and with that knowledge and understanding that the Holy Spirit will always be with you, always. So, with that said, and as I would love to say in all my podcast episodes and all my videos, don't be afraid to be true warriors of Christ.